Hello, everybody. Hmm? How about now? Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. We got some people in the audience. We got some people on my side of the line. We got some people on your side of the line. We're here to talk about decisions at some point. Um, so if you have questions, let me know. If not, I have some things I could potentially show you um, that I know you ain't seen before. Um, maybe not. But like I said, I'll kind of give folks a moment to kind of crawl in so they don't walk in the middle of me on a monologue. But if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to populate the chat. We got some training representation on this side of the line that has a historical support background. We got some documentation on this side of the line, and we got me, Robert. So, um, yeah, if you got any questions, let me know. We can work through some stuff together. I'm happy to learn them, just like you guys are. So, we will work our way through whatever you got. If you don't have anything, like I said, I will show you some some of that unreleased stuff. We'll give it about another 60 seconds. If you don't have any questions, I have stuff to fill time. It'll give me a nice little dry run through some conversations I got to have anyways. So, um, but like I said, I will gladly take any questions that you got. Um, I will gladly. Any questions you got? Yeah, as soon as my clock says 12:03, I'm going to migrate over. So we'll start talking about what I want to talk about, or not what I want to talk about, but what I will talk about. And then if not, we will talk about something else. We have to talk about. Got plenty of things. Oh, we got something in the chat or QA. Let's do it. I'm using advanced. Okay, let me read them. So we did get one. So we'll start there. Give me a second to read it because I am a slow reader, unfortunately. Using advanced read the shit data in form. Report designers in the functionality to export it. It seems like that works inside of a form. Is that right? Design. That's a great question. I would love to figure it out with you. It sounds like a fun one. I know we can. I know we can. I know we can come up with something there. So I'll read it out loud for everybody, and we will start working on that. So the question is, I am using an advanced data grid to show data in a form. The report designer has inbuilt functionality to export the report as an Excel file, but it doesn't seem like that works inside of a form. Is that right? So then I'm trying to figure out how to do it on my own. Having trouble with the download button because it looks like the file data has to be prepared in advance and the form can change the data. All right, let's make sure we're all on the same track. I'm going to unmute you, maybe do a little bit of drawing here just because I like that. And we can talk and walk our way through this together. But I think we can land on a solution for you almost certainly. So Peter, I guess a couple clarifying questions I got for you. And do you have any new features you're excited about? Yes, I do. We'll definitely talk about that next for sure. It's almost like you read my mind. So just to clarify, Peter, you have a form. I'm imagining, how is this form getting populated? Is it a fetch entities going into a form? How are you
It's
populating the data grid?
so I have my own data structure that I designed, and then I'm populating that with APIs. So it's
Okay,
not
so
linked to a database.
cool. API in. All right. So API in populating a data grid. The user is then has the ability to change this data somehow.
Yeah,
You're
they do.
saying
Yeah.
okay, so that the user has the ability to make approval or changes, whatever. Let's say they remove a row. You want a button that would then output an Excel file that has that data minus the user changes, or in addition to the user changes, however they decide to do, whatever they decide, with
Yeah.
the user changes in mind. And an
Yeah.
Excel file pops out of the form itself, or do you want it to be like send an email, or like what is the?
I'm not too picky about the structure. If it was the exact underlying structure of the report or the kind of the without the hidden rows, however it works is fine. Just roughly the structure of the table.
Cool. Yeah, I think we could figure something out here. So we got a button that pulls stuff out, and you want it just in Excel format. You don't want it in that like you said you can kind of get it into a file data format, but it's not right essentially. Is that what that last sentence was about?
Uh, no, like if you just put a download button in, then it
Let me just
has
fix
a
the
file
trigger here.
data
Oh,
input to the form, right? And so it seemed like you'd have to have it loaded in memory all the time, which might be a performance hit, or every time you make a change, you have to adjust that file data, which didn't seem like the best way to do it. So I'm trying to
right.
figure out how to only start working on the file when you click the button.
Okay. All right. We'll see what we can do here. Let me actually just build a whole new project here. Get rid of my bookmarks up top. Nobody wants to see that. So let's say populating and Excel via call in data grid. All right, it's gonna take me a moment to build out at least some of this structure, but like I said, I think we can figure something out. Um, Not needed. Career flow. And if all this looks different, it's because it is. Flow one, we'll call this the main flow here. Main flop. All right. So we'll worry about the data here in a second. Let's kind of get the framework set up here. All right. Let's create one in here. Getting lazy today. Advanced data grid with download. And it might be even smarter for me just to check. Let me check one thing real fast. I might actually have one built out in like our common server here that already has an advanced data grid that works. That might save us a little bit of time here. Advanced data grid lunch and learn test. I like that. Wait, database. So what flow is this in? So it has a report. Let's see if I can find that flow. It was an LNL. Ignore how ugly this is. Apologies. Um, all right. I think we are just see if we can advanced data grid download flow version 8. All right. And then I have a form that already has the framework of it built out. So we don't got to worry about all that. Pick existing. And data grid form. All right. I'm just going to ignore all this because I don't quite know what those are yet. A list of strings. We want to, you want, is it a structure coming in or is it, what is the format of the data that's coming in? Is it serialized, deserialized? What are we talking about on that end?
I do a lot of data manipulation before it gets to the form, but in the form it's just like a flat list of fields, some of which are decimal and some of which are text. Or like a flat data structure of fields, I mean.
So that's a data repeater. I don't want that. I thought I had on the data grid. Let me just try one more here. Pick a create form. Pick existing. That's what I was looking for. Nice. All right, so let's just frame this up a little bit. Saves us. Took a 5-minute detour to save myself 3 minutes, but that's the way it is sometimes. I do just while I'm here. See, y'all see what I'm doing right now with this click and drag maneuver. Check this out, man. 9.8 coming soon. Look at this. Just when you thought things couldn't be, we need masterpiece coming down the pipeline. Okay, so our eventual goal here is to create a download button, but the problem is your download button is file data. What if? And Greg, feel free to if you have a workaround thinking about what my initial thought was my initial thought was a event button that runs an active form flow that gets this report. Well, I guess I'm trying to think of, can I get it from form data? Is it available in form data?
Yeah, I've been trying to run this in my head the best way to do this because it's whatever changes are made in this form aren't going to be showing up in the report because we're not editing the actual entities.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do this.
Yeah. Because my initial thought was to try and see if it would come out as form data. Like if I just go to, let's just look at what variables we're working with in an active form flow. I guess that's not the right thing to do. That's not the fastest. I'll just show a pop up or something just so we can get a select from flow and see what is showing up. Advanced data grid.
Data is
Okay,
at the
so
very top.
yeah, so we do have a list of the thing. Because this report also has to be named, right? So when you name this report, at advanced data grid report,
Right. But the data in here isn't database saved after changes have been made. That's why I'm wondering if run report would produce the same results or not. I'm not certain.
so essentially we want, okay, data grid. Sure, it's not going to be invalidation, but I'll look anyways. All right, data grid advanced. We talked about this already. Hmm. I'm not even sure if this is correlated.
We can give it a data name and set that data name. That's not the issue. Like we can set that once we have the file. It's turning the report into a file. That's the tricky part.
So this is, so when we make these changes, it's just here and it outputs it in what format? Doesn't. Is that right?
I think we have to change the mode from info only to output it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so now we should have an output to this. Might need to name it. Don't know if it's gonna. Oh, I think go back in. I think we need to name it. There's a output now, I think at the bottom somewhere.
Ooh,
Yeah,
there's
there we
one
go.
there. Output data. Okay. What if we put a, what if we, so what if we did something like this? This is obviously not perfect here. Right? What if, Greg, here, what if we put something on this? Because then it would refresh. Would it refresh? I also, this is, I mean, this is again not a best practice. I'm just kind of brainstorming here. We did something in there, in that loop. We created a loop there. We would have the outputted data. It would just be a list of string, I imagine, or an object.
You know, what if we changed output data from rename to change value of the input? That way it won't refresh it. So entity results. You know what I'm saying? Because this is just in the
Yeah,
flow right now. So now when it goes back in, it shouldn't refresh that.
that is smart. Okay, so what if we put some type of way? So what are we downloading here? We are inputting a list of this. What if we did?
Create new Excel? Maybe that's it? Oh, this would take a little bit.
It's not really what we want.
No, this is gonna take a while. I think if we were gonna go this approach, it'd be better to do that in like an active form flow or something.
Mm.
We would have to save the changes between there. And I don't know if that's what we're trying to do is alter the database stuff.
Well, it's coming from an API, so it's not even like they're not using a fetch.
Oh. Yeah, then they're not
So
gonna
there's
have
no real
access to it.
permanence. Yeah, there's no permanence to the data as far as I'm currently understanding it.
If there isn't, then I think the only way to make this work,
Let me just-
because there is no data structure from which to convert to a file because it's not database saved, I think we have to go down the creating Excel route or something along those lines. Because you need something that converts employee data or whatever the data type is to a file of that. Yeah, another person's mentioning the CSV mapping stuff, but that's the idea that I think there has to be something that converts this type to a file. I think we need to manually do that somehow.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up. We had a customer request for this in April of last year. So, and we have it in as a feature request right now. Short-term fix, a button that prepares an Excel file. I mean, that's not specific enough for me, but um, okay. So a button that prepares an Excel file. Let me just do a little bit more exploring here, Peter. And this might be something I might just play with and get back to you at this point, just because I don't want to stumble and bumble through this. Let me think. Could I be missing something? All right, so this is populating the data repeater itself, or the data grid itself. Create CSV type. Download file is taking. Run a report. Reports. So this is how do we turn just a series of data into a or using, because the data grid is just going to be outputting essentially the same list. Like it doesn't, like the output has no context of the report itself. It just knows data. Right, Greg? Like the report itself is just like, or the output is at least saying like, hey, here's the data, not necessarily like this was the report this data came from.
Exactly. It has no link to that. So the only two options I can think of are creating it manually in the background of the form. So we only create a data structure after they click download. So that's like an event button or something like that. Or you get what I'm saying? Like it.
Yeah, that was my initial thought, was the event button methodology.
I think that's going to either have to be event or output, or if there's some way to display actions on the report that would normally be
Ooh.
there. Hit
Ooh,
show actions above. I don't know if that would work, but those are my only two thoughts on this. Either it's the same actions as before, or where's that action?
reset report.
Yeah, it may not be able to be downloaded.
Well, but that is a good point that potentially, let's look in this report and see if there's an additional like action. Hide default out. Nope, 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 nope. Because essentially we want this,
Mm-hmm.
but even then we couldn't like, what happens when we hit this?
Be blank. Yeah, if it's not showing here, I'm almost certain it's not going to be an
Well,
action that's available.
let me just explore this event button thing for a moment, and then if not, I'm gonna ping the support and see, or maybe professional services, and see if they what workarounds they know. But I just want to, just because I've kind of built this to a little bit here. Download as Excel. Uh, form data, advanced data grade. See, we're still just getting that structure. It's not even file data yet. So we don't really have access to the output data, visible.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to build that ourselves.
Well, that's not too, right? If we have a list, you know what I'm saying? If we have a list of it and we know what we want the fields on the report to be, like, couldn't we just populate a report and then output that report as file data and then download it as file reference?
Right. That'd be the idea of like creating an Excel file in a loop there.
I just am not the best with it. I wish Jeremy was in here. He's the Excel guy. Mm, mm, mm. Still don't have file data.
Update file with, what was that?
I was thinking leave it blank. Like, you know, sometimes like you can like leave like the input file blank and then you have update the file with the new data and make a blank one. I was thinking like a workaround kind of thing, a cheeky workaround.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to do the create Excel file and then, run through it for however many rows there are in that.
What is the name of that step? The create Excel.
I think that's what it is, create Excel or CSV, something along those lines. Yeah, you can do it with Excel or CSV. The whole point is that it's some sort of data file. Where is it? I know this thing exists. Maybe it's just create Excel.
No, create Excel. I've looked for that. I've searched that a number of times.
Okay, weird. Can you go back into the Excel tab?
Yeah, I'm gonna go and just put this into support in case someone has a quick one. They can just get back to me. Into our channel, I mean.
There it is.
Let's see.
Create new Excel file. That's it. Yep. So this will start the creation and then it outputs a file. And that's the important part. We give it a name. We give the sheet name.
And the sheet name would be a constant as well.
Yeah. We'll just make one sheet of this.
Bottom sheet.
All right, scroll down and that output is what we need. That's a file, right? So
Okay.
everything we do after that is going to do loop logic to start adding stuff to this file so that it can be downloaded.
Okay, and that's what, and Pierre, you were worried about performance implications. I think that's where we're kind of getting into that world.
Exactly. Now this would only run when they click download. That's the important part. So it wouldn't constantly be running in the background. But yeah, trying to figure out. I don't know if there's a better way to do this.
Yeah, we got a question in the chat. What are we working on? We're trying to figure out what is the easiest way to take an edited advanced data grid that's populated from data from an API call and then have a button to output that Excel file in the kind of problematic area that we're not problematic, but the area that we're kind of sitting in is an eloquent way and a performant way to take data that has no permanence in decisions, that isn't stored in decisions, and put it into an Excel file that has similar headers and similar, like we're building a castle that looks like the castle that is made by the advanced data grid. And we want it to be, framed up the same way, in a way that's eloquent and performant.
I just saw something that was probably not best practices, but it's simple. Batch insert, run report, delete entities. Batch insert everything, run a report now that all the data exists, and then delete them all afterward.
Where'd you see that online on Sport?
No, I just thought of this.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think this is best practice, but it would work. You can loop through and add to list, Alexander. The problem is that it doesn't turn that into file data in order to be downloaded. So we can add that stuff to a list and then create it, but we need some way in order to create the file with that information.
But even here, we would need a type name. There's no permanence.
Oh, it's employee, right? Employee tab. That's the kind of type it's saved into.
Yeah, that's ours, but his is a API call. You know what I mean?
I thought he had a temporary structure for that.
Do you have a temporary structure pin? I thought you said you didn't.
It's a flow structure.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, it said
Yeah.
no store in it.
No, you just have to, no. And making a new one to map it into is even more bad practice because then you just have duplicate structures at that point.
Someone's saying list to CSV would do it. Everyone's saying list to CSV, CSV to list to. Everyone's got a CSV to list
Okay,
approach.
let's try it. Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah, hold on. That would work. That would work really well. What are we thinking?
I
Look at
don't know
this.
what we're thinking.
This is easy. Yeah.
And then from here, you would take your input
List.
data from form,
Yeah.
advanced data grid, but the output data, right?
Yeah. There you go. And then done. And then you just go to the item mapping it. Oh, wow. This is really stinking easy. Why did we not think of this? I, wow. Drop down build data on item. Or,
Sorry, we're on.
oh, yeah, there we go. You select the fields you want to map it to, depending on how many you need. Yeah, this is easy. Thank y'all. I don't know why we didn't think of this.
Sorry, we're on this training. Old school training container, the try server. Been out of date for a long time, so we're having some. This is once again not ideal here.
And then edit, add the properties, 1, 2, 3. Let's save that. And then there we go. There we go. All right, so that runs, it outputs a file list, and now you just need to populate the download button with that with whatchamacallit. Oh, I've never seen this approach.
I'm not sure if it will work, but
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. If that doesn't work, I think we just do a set form control with the file download.
let's just do the file download. You said, should I put a button in there, you think? Just another form? What's the path of least resistance? Just because I've been counting grinding here for a button.
You download file download button. We need one of those on there first. Otherwise, we're not gonna have anything to set.
Like in here, right?
We need to set on the form a file download. We're just
That's
gonna
this
do
raise event.
that's a event button, right?
Yeah.
We need a file download button, like an actual file download page form control. There we go.
Oh, then we populate this.
Exactly. We'll just set that. So we can have the raise event run in the background eventually, but there's a little bit more manual way. And then that's good. That's all we
Back in the
need.
active form flow, right?
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
And then
Just set control value. That's all we need now. Because that's an output of file data, right? Yeah, there we go.
you can have this thing also like show control.
Right, to make it a little bit more dynamic. Download. There we go. Love it.
And thank you guys. This is a real big communal thing. This is what it's supposed to be. This is what we aspire to have here. So
Raise
I've
it
done
and
that.
then
It populated this.
download.
Is this closer, Peter? Is it Peter just give you at least something to start with? Is that a
Yeah, definitely. That's a good starting place. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry we couldn't get to that quicker. And for all of you that said list of CSV mapping, you said it 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Should have listened to you. Apologies. But again, this is like in the world that we dream of, this is kind of what we want is it to be a kind of a communal thing where people that have build experience and stuff like that. Yeah. So just to kind of refresh for all of you that are maybe kind of lost or you zoned out for a moment. What we essentially we're trying to get is data that populates a data grid. That data grid then giving a button to download it, download the data. So the way that we did that is we had an event button that kind of charged or set off a active form flow based on the event button trigger. Within this, we were able to use list to CSV mapping, take that list, output file data, and then set the control value of the download button, which again you can put in between here if you wanted something a little more, you know, UI pretty. You could say like show control. Originally leave your button hidden, so when it hits this, it shows the control. Then they can click the button. So you know you would save these as kind of populate, or there's a million ways you do it, but you put like populate Excel, and then once you click that button, it'll give you the button to download.
You can even have an active form flow that would run on. Hmm. Sorry, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say. Never mind. Never mind. Ignore me.
All right, consider yourself ignored. Thank you guys. Thank you, anonymous attendee, Alexander, everybody. Thank you guys for the help and Peter for the good question. Like this is stuff that's again cool and fun to me. So it is much, much, much appreciated. Yeah, cool. Another question, and I'll take as many as you got, so feel free to drop them, is like, do you have any new features you're excited about in version 9? Something that speeds up workflow and processes, et cetera. And like I said, please feel free to populate kind of Q&A if you have any questions. But yeah, I mean, I've been working on the 9.8 release stuff that's going to come out. It was supposed to come out tomorrow, but I think it's coming out on Friday now. Like this right here, just to me, I know this seems simple and obvious, but anyone who's built any time in page designers or in form designers knows how much of a nightmare it can be to like resize stuff. The drag and drop functionality there is really, really, really great. Another one that's kind of new that I think is really helpful in terms of building in 9.8. Again, this is coming out this week, but we're talking about upgrading 9 anyways. The default report designer is kind of giving you more and more info here. So you have validation issues, you have tags, which is really great. To-dos will show up, and then the health score of each individual element. Speaking of health scores, we've added health scores and kind of decisions best practices in mind when it comes to rule designers. So as I kind of go through here and look at rules or truth tables, you'll notice that I have a health score that is associated with rules now. And you keeps track of it there, as well as here on the actual health page. We've added a ton of additions here, including tag filters. So we can say, I just want to look at the project help of stuff that needs a unit test. Boom, because I made that tag myself. Or if I wanted to filter out the health by stuff that's normal or good or bad, you know, we're kind of doubling down on the health score stuff. I did get another question, so I'll kind of keep going. I have 2 forms in a project in version 9 decisions, one for requesting something and the second form for approving. Is it possible to set the assignment for the approval form to be the email of the person who filled out the request of the form so it's dynamic? Yep. Yeah, I got that one. Certainly. So when a form is run, the context is you got to realize that when a form is, even if I just had this pick or create form, right? And I chose to run this flow or however you do it, you have it on a dashboard. The user that does that is the one who name will show up in flow data. So just, I'm going to kind of create a new one real quick, a form, first form, and then we'll create another one called the assignment form. Just going to put a button on here, say we're done. The data mapping doesn't sound like you have a problem with. It's more or less the assignment section. So once we go to that, let's say we have a second form here, and this is going to be our assignment form. Create a new one, and this is the form where the assignment happens. Yeah. you can set this up under assigned. Once you have this, again, you're not really getting flow data here, but under advanced setup, you could say, I want to assign it from flow data and say the person who is running the flow, which in this case, I'm logged in as admin@decisions.com. But if I designed this and then Greg ran this flow, his name would dynamically be, or his email would dynamically be this one. What is the problem here? What did I miss? String, expected type
It's
string.
a build array. It's looking
Ah,
for.
true. It's a list. Yeah, so it's a list. Apologies. Thank you, Greg. A little frazzled here, I guess. Build an array. All these settings have changed so much. Full of data based on the current account. Oh, that's the whole account, which would potentially work as well. But you can just do the email. So hey, I just want to send it to whoever ran the flow. So whoever kind of ran it here. Keep in mind though, just a worthwhile point. If for some reason you have an end form here, let's say, again, hypothetically, you had an end form here. This will change your system context or your context to system so that this will just assume it's assigned to system, which is going to be a problem. So if you do have an end form there, that is something to consider that you would probably want to get the username over here somehow before it hits this, or find a way to bypass that end form or put the end form, in a different path. I'm not sure what your design paradigm would be, but it's worth mentioning that if you do have an end form, by the time it hits this assignment, this will be populated with system rather than the actual user who started the flow, because that context does change. But again, kind of as a high level overview, if you wanted to assign to whoever ran the flow and ran the first form, which again, because of the linear path of this, you should be able to get it from flow data. If you needed to store that somewhere else, again, you could put a step here to store that, like a create data or store it into a database, however you might think about it, and then use this in another way. But yeah, you can get the active user account of the person who filled out the first form in a number of ways. And I'll unmute you as well, Sheesh, if you want to add any clarity, or if I missed the mark on that, feel free to kind of just fill me in on what I can do to kind of better answer your question. So I'll
No,
have you
yeah, this
unmuted.
is this is exactly what I needed. I think I was trying to do
Perfect.
the same thing with the assignment form or assignment setup, but the array of string part got me confused, so that really helped. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate the question too, and thanks for joining. So,
Yep.
what other questions do people have? Again, this has been a real pleasure on my end. I'm learning a lot. We're sharing information. We got a good little community of people here. Appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day to join us on this lovely lunch and learn for Tuesday, March 4th. Until a question pops up, which again, I'll gladly take at any point in time. I'll just kind of keep talking about some of this. We talked about the health score stuff in 9.7, but it's just we're tripling down on it in 9.8. Another really great functionality that I think is powerful in 9.8 is really going to be useful if you use tab containers, or I think it's called sidebar containers. But essentially, you can now populate these tab names from data. So you can get a data name like tab A, right? I'm just gonna call that data name tab A. That will then show up as an input into the form. So you could populate these dynamically potentially, but also you can have them set up on an active form flow, because that data now shows up. And you can say, hey, anytime I hit a button, I want to change, the I want to change the value of a certain thing. And it will kind of work its way through that way. So I think I can go like this. One more time, form data, tab container A, because I changed the name. I get tab name here now. I can call this Rob's new tab, right? Probably too much text for the tab itself. But let's find the float this is on. I don't know if I have one. Yeah. So here's old tab name. When I debug this, it starts out as old tab name. that event button changes the tab name. So it just gives you the ability to kind of, you know, change, utilize tab containers a lot more effectively, and that's efficient on pages as well. We talked about some of the health score stuff. You guys saw the description tab earlier. We've added timeout inputs for HTTP flow steps, so you can specify a timeout. We've got enhanced performance on reports and startup times. You can specify the method at runtime for a REST service. So if you have a REST service, see if I can find a flow that does it. I've set up a REST service in this project already. I don't know if I have one. Oh, I see the chat's kind of going. Let's make sure I'm all caught up. Okay, so you have a question about the V8 data cleanup training. Asked Greg about this earlier, but you're having trouble setting up the database connection. Okay. Are you, I think I overheard part of the conversation earlier because Greg sits right next to me. Do you have a training container, or do you have a local install for some reason?
So Greg did set up a training instance for me, so I was testing using that.
Okay. And it's still having problems? It's just saying it won't connect?
Yeah, it's saying
Yeah.
test fail, network related or instance specific error occurred.
Yeah.
Er-
What I have, this is not necessarily true. I don't mind looking into that instance and helping you set it up. I'll probably get back to you on that just for time and not to, I'm sure other people, no one wants to watch me troubleshoot, much less the people that are coming here to learn. I'm not a good troubleshooter, to be honest. But generally speaking, on these projects, where people struggle with this integration is going to be, and again, yours is in version 9, so yours is at the project level almost certainly. I'm doing it at system level because this is version 8. But it should be, and for data cleanup, it's address master data copy. What we generally see, or one that I see all the time, is check to make sure that there's no weird spaces in here or like weird text in your connection string when you're connecting to that. Generally, or in the password or something, we'll see that there's a space. Someone, because when we have it on the requirements document, there's a line break in the middle of that long string of text you're supposed to paste in there. And in some browsers, when you paste that, that line break shows up as a space or like a weird symbol or a weird you know, extra special character or a digit or something, depending on how your browser's set up. So I would check that first. If not, I wrote your name down. I'll check into your container and see if it's something I can set up. And if it is, I'll just tell you what the issue is right after this.
Got it. I was using the server name, database name fields instead of the actual connection string. I don't know
Okay.
if that would be an issue too, but yeah.
It shouldn't be. No.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I said, I'll look at it. Greg said he made you one, so we'll look at it in a few moments.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the scene here. Any more final questions? Like I said, we ran about 50 minutes. I learned something. Hopefully you guys did as well. So, and this will be on YouTube shortly. I'm the one who posts them on there. So, if you want to rewatch it, it'll be on there. We've been hammering out. I know Greg's been putting out a lot of videos. And I know Jeremy's been putting them out as well, but like I just will recommend kind of going through our channel, decisions training. You'll have to type that in the search bar. If you just type in decisions automation, it's going to show up like our marketing page, basically. No, thank you, Alexander Stewart, because you actually answered the first question. So thank you for coming, man. But we've been kind of working our way through and just making a lot more stuff. And I know Greg, who's in this room, he's been absolutely crushing it. You can see him up there behind the watch later symbol. You can see just the top of his hairline. That's him up there again. So you can see how much this man's been putting to work. So shout out to Greg. But we've been putting out a lot of videos. So and Jeremy just did a big one on rule sets. You know, rule sets are super powerful. But again, the easiest way to find it, I think, is to type in decisions training into the YouTube kind of search engine and find it in here, decisions training. Because if you just type in decisions, if you just type in decisions, you're not going to find us. And if you just type in decisions automation, you're going to find like our marketing page, which is like, you know, marketing materials, not necessarily like what we are working on. So that's a worthwhile call out is, you know, we are constantly coming out with new stuff. It's just kind of getting the algorithm to support us and, you know, put us at the top of the YouTube chain. Oh, yeah. So Alexander said the way he finds it is decision lunch and learn, or just lunch and learn. I think lunch and learn's a common like SaaS company thing, but yeah, if you type in decision lunch and learn, there we are, decisions training. And like I said, we have 700 videos. So we have tons of stuff, and in here you could say, oh, well, I want to learn about what have I done, rule collection filters or something. Like here's a 15-minute video on the ins and outs and the nuances and things you got to know about rule collection filters. So I know that I personally made over 129 videos last year personally. So we have 700 and something on our channel. So I think I'll go ahead and close it out unless someone's got some questions. I think we're back tomorrow with Jeremy, one of the smartest guys I know. So hopefully we'll get your answers. I'll be in there too. So it'll be Jeremy and I at the very least, maybe Jeremy, I, and Greg, maybe Jeremy, I, Greg, and Jared. Jasmine's always in here as documentation. So shout out to everybody. Thank you guys all for joining. We will see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you again.